You're very welcome back to Ruka, the second day of action here in the opening weekend of the FIS Cross Country World Cup. It's the second race of the day. This time it's the turn of the men to feature in the 10-kilometre classic here on these wonderful tracks in Finland. Following on from a most excellent women's race, a lot to live up to in that regard. Hopefully we'll get some close action and some multiple different countries in the mix. That's what we can hope for. Again, a little bit warmer than yesterday, but still pretty cold out there. Some ideal skiing conditions. And again, the preview of the course, same one that the woman took on earlier. Lots of climbing to be done. There's bound to be plenty of ebb and flow over the course of 2 5-kilometre loops. A lot can change in a very short period of time when you're against the clock in such a fashion. Here's the starting order. Alva Johannes Alev of Estonia will kick us off. Further down the order, second place yesterday, Rikard Juve starts in at 15. Still Feindrich has had a good pre-season. He beat some of the Swedes in Gallivare. He's 18. No, they're not going to show us any more of that. Fair enough. Hopefully they will continue that at some point in starting order. But clearly some technical issues there. But again, like in the women's race, we're seeing many of the big names opt for some of the later start positions. See the flag of the some of the indigenous groups of Finland. And flown high. And some of those looking on. Some of the intense warm-ups beginning as well. Fans looking on and awaiting the start with bated breath, not long to go now before we get underway. Bit of an unfamiliar distance for the men. More used to 15-kilometre run than a 10-kilometre. Such is the way the distance changes this season. All change in the calendar. what sort of permutations is that going to throw up? Surely going to greatly suit the likes of Clairbo down to a T. You would think the shorter distances, a man with such explosivity. And we are underway and racing now. Estonian, first man on the tracks. And it'll be quick fire thereafter. Jules Chapaz showed promise in the classic sprint yesterday. The distance elements may be of pretty significant difficulty for him. Another Estonian, Martin Hema. It's the third man underway. It feels like long gone are the days where Estonia were challenging at the sharp end of cross-country skiing. Thinking some of their performances, like at Torino 2006, where they were receiving medals, both the men and women's events. It's a distant memory for them. Andrew Young off at number 4. It's been a few years since we've seen any good form from the British skier. Couple of sprint podiums back in the day. Luke Yeager of the United States is next underway. And a bit of disparity between the US men and the women, but we do have some good names coming through. I'm thinking the likes of Ben Ogden and co. Some decent young talent. Truls Gisselman of Sweden is next. Here is Paolo Ventura. Curious to see later down the line how Federico Pellegrino gets on. Seen him become a bit more amenable to distance racing in the last couple of seasons. Here's Listo-Matti Hakola for Finland, and a big cheer, a raucous cheer for him. He sets off on his 10-kilometre journey in classic style. Grueling endeavour. Great reception for him as he works his way down the first descent. Zach Ketterson now of the United States. expect the American program to go strength to strength rather. Before the Milano Cortina Olympic Games, Julien Arnaud of France still feeling an absence on the men's side from the heyday of Maurice Magnificat, for example. Comes to distance racing, Edvin Anger of Sweden was one of the qualifiers for the sprint yesterday. Being placed in that heat with Valnes, Klæbo and Chapaz, it was clear that he was going no further in the quarterfinals. Björn Sandström hoping it's lucky number 13 as he sets off in pretty aggressive fashion too. Simone Dapra. The Italians. Again, one eye on the home Olympic Games. And the biggest shop window for cross-country skiing. And the biggest accolade you can receive. The Italians will be doing everything to prepare. Ricard Juve, an amazing second yesterday in front of Johannes Hussler Klæbo, but not able to get the better of dominant Eric Valnes. Today I think will be a different story, but the other two men on the podium, I imagine they'll be right at the sharp end compared to the Frenchman. Janos Ruka of Germany. Germany have been putting in good pre-season performances at distance skiing. Sadly, Friedrich Moch is not present, but he was due to illness, but he put in some pretty notable performances in the pre-season, and the women as well going along very strongly. So the first athlete to the 3.1 kilometer mark, it will be Alev of Estonia. Eight minutes and 8 seconds. Enjoys time at the top whilst he can. Wonderful shots here amidst the forestry of this winter wonderland. See how the trees tower over the athletes. Really quite remarkable environment. Hagström is the next athlete off in search of slice of glory today. Alawi Lepisto will be the 20th off the mark. Again, pretty excellent reception from the crowd to greet him. Jaeger of the United States, still Olive at the top of the charts, but the American is going to set down a new benchmark by a handful of seconds, it appears. Going along strongly there, 6.4 seconds up on the Estonian. First place for the American skier at the 3.1 kilometre mark. It's not for long was Hisselman, Sweden. First athlete under that 8-minute mark. Certainly won't be the last, however. 7.5 seconds up on Jaeger. John Steele Hagenbuch, very much an unknown entity from the United States. Got strength in numbers here, it must be said. Somebody's got to send the athletes with startless numbers very much dwindling in recent years. Suppose that can be put down to circumstances outside the control of the cross-country powers that be as well. It's some concerning times for the sport. Hopefully the storm will be weathered accordingly. Again, I'm still really in awe at this camera work. It really does give a brilliant sense of the area. Zach Catterson of the United States. .2 off the pace. Gisselman still the early pace setter. Still the only man to record a first split under 8 minutes. Edwin Unger just coming around the bend there. Putting himself in shot. That's the Swede. Touch and go relative to Hisselman. And he's going to best in by 1.8 seconds, so good start for the early Swedish athletes. Under such a young skier is bound to keep going from strength to strength. In the coming years. And another American, Gus Schumacher. One of the best young performers on the tour at the moment. And it's all about improving upon that impressive base level. Theo Shelley up next. And back to the 3.1 kilometre split. So Ruka is approaching 3.1 kilometre mark. The distance racing not his forte, but not the worst start I suppose. 6th place out of 15. I'll take some solace in that. Beluga, Germany is also going to be a decent way off. But, Swedes at the moment going along very well at the top. Edvin Under, the leader, in the early stages. 16 athletes passing through their first checkpoint. Marcus Vuorela of Finland. What will we see from him on his home tracks? Good reception from the fans again. And another Swede coming just into shot now. It's Hagström. I think he's going to put himself in the top 3 at least. He's going to add to the early Swedish success. It's not enough to take first position. It still belongs to Edvin Under, but Hagström second, just 0.8 of a second down. Kisselman looking like work of things time-wise. Bit of a stumble there. He approaches the 6.1 kilometre mark. Oh, it's a little bit laboured. A lot of slippage. And again, struggling ever so slightly, but still going to be in the lead as far as I can tell. 6.1 kilometres, but losing time all the while relative to some of the others. Jaeger in particular there. Remy Lindholm. Another home athlete starting his run. Great sight there off the start of the ski jumping ramp. The first round of the Ski Jumping World Cup taking place here in the Nordic Combined. So much action for these fans to soak in. And that's Hakola, who has really picked up the pace and takes the lead at 6.1 kilometres. Emil Iversen goes off. And after a couple of seasons in the wilderness, well, we'll have higher hopes, I think. Saw him put in a good performance at the 10 kilometre classic in Beitostølen. It's a real case of a revival for Emil Iversen. But the man who beat him on that day was, in fact, Erik Valnes. So that tells you a lot about his form. So Jules Lapierre off and racing. And now, the man they've all been waiting for, Ivo Niskanen. Oh, and that cheer is absolutely massive. Their foremost hope in an inside. Such a classic technique specialist. It would have to be coming from Finland. practically the state religion there, the classic skiing technique. But difficulties last year. What sort of form is he on now? Ivo Niskanen. Is the course too short for him at 10 kilometres? We'll have to wait and see, but I just wouldn't count him out today. He's definitely the foremost non-Norwegian hope for victory. Edvin Anger is keeping the pace up very well, as his teammate was falling off. Anger proceeding to really turn things up. And now he's out for an aggressive start from Pep to Hyvalid, racing out of the blocks there. Hope he doesn't pay for that endeavour later. The crowd love it again. Kamil Berry of Poland. Andrew Musgrave of Great Britain, still going strong at 33. He's traditionally prefers the freestyle technique, but he was very good in the 10 kilometre classic at Beitostølen. Henry Leverson was second, Musgrave was third. So that bode well for him here today. Or is that something of an anomaly? We'll have to wait and see. Theo Shelley of France is going along very strongly here. He's the first man to best the time of Edvin Anger, and that is highly surprising, with all the Norwegians to come up behind him. Maybe short-lived. Amundsen is off next. Is it going to be yet another Norwegian bloodbath? Will there be some disruption from the likes of Ivo Niskanen and Jusso Halala? Next to go for Finland. And here is Johannes Rosflot Flairbo. Even with his slightly substandard performance last time out, there's no way you can rule him out still here today. And he's still got to be one of the favourites from the Norwegian set. Hakola still going along nicely. Absolute grimace on his face at the 8.1 kilometre mark. He's well ahead of Fisserman of Sweden. Crowd still out in full force. Didrik Tonseth. Another one to watch today from the Norwegian camp. Just watch as those times, the 3.1 kilometre mark, just will continue to fall and reduce. Leo Grandbois for Canada. Very untested at this level, but getting the nod. And just another one of those nations struggling to pick up the pieces after the presence of a big athlete, that being Alex Harvey. William Paroma feels like something of an unknown entity. We have no gauge of his form at the moment, but the exciting young skiers on the tour. It's a big hope for Sweden. The early pace setters for the country, though, tailing off towards the back end. Edvin Unger hemorrhaging time to Rakola. Now, Emil Iversen. It's not quite the red-hot pace we would have expected from the Norwegian. He's stumbling. It's a laboured endeavour up this climb. He's going to be behind the Frenchman Theo Shelley, which is quite remarkable. He's going to be behind Ruarella, Beda Clay, all sorts of names he wouldn't have expected to be falling to at the moment. 3.7 down. Is he just pacing this conservatively, or was he flattering to deceive last week in Bajtostorlen? All eyes on this man, Ivo Niskanen. Oh, this is going to be a fantastic time, I think. He's really going to throw the gauntlet down. He's really going to throw it down here. 12 seconds up on Theo Shelley. Over to you, Norway. That is a remarkable first 3.1 kilometres. And I think Ivo Niskanen, I think he might be back. Kalle Halvarsen, very seasoned on the World Cup tour. What does he have to give today? Hakola to the line. Early benchmark. Well ahead of his summon in Sweden. Will he hold on? Will he surpass rather Edvin Unger coming up on the tracks behind? Ole Mischenko not permitted to start, so I'm not quite sure what that's about. Here is Perttu Aivarinen. Is he about to go into second place? Seeing the wider shot. It's touch and go. I think he's going to be just behind Theo Shelley, behind Vuorella, and behind Unger, and into fifth. And this is looking quite strong for the Finnish men. Early on in a manner we haven't seen too often, but still so many Norwegians come later down the track. And they could put in something of a challenge for Ivo Niskanen. Simeon Dejanov of Bulgaria had some decent successes in the past in biathlon with some of their athletes there, but never before in cross-country skiing. What did he manage out there today for the Eastern European nation? Always good to see some representation for the smaller countries. Paul Goldberg is up next off the line. A distant World Cup winner last year. The man who was previously more of a sprinting specialist in an earlier life. Hagström for 8.1, struggling a bit. And this will be tight between Unger and Hakola. He's going to just hold on, I think. Yes, 0.4 a second. exhausted over the line. Could tell with his quick start that he was starting to struggle, starting to wade and to fade. Akela's time in the hot seat was up, however, and more trouble for Norway. Amundsen not looking too hot here. It's going to be closer to Teo Shirley than he is to Ivo Niskanen. This does not bode well. And is it the waxing? Is it the skis at the moment? It's causing issues for them, the fluoro ban. Has it really brought them back, crashing back down to earth? I'm not quite so sure. We've only seen two of their athletes go through that 3.1 kilometre mark. Can't quite judge yet, but it's not looking great for Klæbo either, I think. If Niskanen keeps up this pace, then who is going to match him right now? The Norwegians seem to have been subsumed into all of those below the likes of Niskanen, and a good considerable bit below him too. Klæbo just ahead of Amundsen, but again 10.4 seconds off the pace. That is quite remarkable. And we know that these are the home tracks of Ivo Niskanen, but that was a ridiculous advantage early on. We'll see how he paces it. He may have just gone out too hard. Stimmen, Hedstedt, Kruger next after March. Diderik Tonseth. And again, I think he's going to be a long way off Ivo Niskanen. This is a real turn-up for the books, I feel. It would have been reasonable to anticipate a Niskanen win or a podium, but he's absolutely crushing them in the first section. I do fear for his pacing. He's that much considerably quicker. This is a pretty big disaster for Diderik Tonseth, meanwhile. He's going to be outside the top 20. He's going to be behind the likes of Thomas Maloney Vesgaard of Ireland. 25th for Diderik Tonseth. Now it's Martin Lundström and yet the Norwegians keep coming. Any one of them going to have a decent day out there? That remains to be seen. Can anyone hold a candle to Ivo Niskanen's early time? And later on down the tracks as well. That's what we'll be watching for. William Paloma looks solid from him. I think he's going to slot into second as the 22-year-old from Sweden. Maybe I was a bit over-ambitious there, as a matter of fact. He's still going to be right up there. Over the top Norwegians. Just behind Theo Shelley. 12.1 down. 1.5 behind Johannes Huslop Klæbo. It's a good solid start for the Swede, the youngster. Now keep an eye on Ivo Niskanen. He still looks like he's keeping it up. It does not look like he's wavering whatsoever. He'll be well clear of Edvin Unger. That's for sure. 21.5 seconds. How is that going to shape up? It's the Norwegians who I'm sure will be giving everything later on, and who may have paced this a bit more sensibly. That is the glory of this. It will unfold as these athletes against the clock. Federico Pellegrino of Italy. And a bit of a distance skiing renaissance late in his career. Reinventing himself, the veteran Italian. been on the tour for so long, hasn't he? From a young age, such a prolific sprinter. Now look at Beta Clay of Switzerland. This is a great revelation for the Swiss men if he can keep this pace up to the finish. 0.2 off Edwin Unger, but Unger wavering in those last 1.9 kilometres. He has a shot at taking the hot seats, does the Swiss athletes. We're talking about Cyril Feindrich and his pre-season form. Didn't quite materialise for him so far today, but bodes well for the Swiss men. Nadine Feindrich as well was going along solidly earlier on. Vermeulen for Austria. Some of the best performances from him we've seen. He's putting himself in with a big shout of a top 20 come the end. Now Musgrave, North Britain, has paced this decently. He's going to be ahead of Unger. Does that prove ominous for Ivo Niskanen, given that Musgrave has been able to meter this out and gain back quite a bit of time? I've just got a feeling the Norwegians are going to come on very strong at the end. Amundsen is up next. I think he was about 12 or so seconds down on Niskanen at 3.1 if my memory serves me correctly. Still a long way to go for him, I think, here. It's going to be a pretty similar story. In terms of the time gap. In fact, it's going to have gone out by 2 or 3 seconds. Musgrave gaining pretty dramatically on the Norwegian. "16 seconds behind Ivo Niskanen, and rapidly asserting himself here. Klæbo is a long way down the tracks. And this has not been a fun weekend for him. This trend is to continue. Losing in a sprint battle, you'd feel he'd be almost guaranteed to win in normal circumstances to Erik Valles. And now he's getting crushed here by Ivo Niskanen. He's going to be behind Amundsen. Behind Andrew Musgrave as well. 19 seconds down for Klæbo. It's been a disruptive pre-season for him. He's had a bit of illness to deal with. Disputes with the Norwegian Ski Federation as well. Will be weighing upon him rather heavily, I suppose, but I just would not have expected this, because it's Klæbo, really. Maybe he has one eye on the Tour de Ski and peaking later on in the season, and maybe Ivo Niskanen is just giving it his absolute all when it comes to his home race, but this is a pretty barnstorming result, a pretty outrageous one. Finally, we're going to have a podium to cheer at the very least. I think we're also going to be celebrating that home crowd. An emphatic victory at the end of the day. 36 seconds up on Edwin Unger. What a turn up for the books. And Niskanen, he's really an athlete for the purists, for the old school cross-country skiing fan. built for long distances, built for the classic technique, built to race against the clock. Struggles with anything else, with freestyle, shorter distances, mass start races, but when it comes to this, he's in his element. Look at the finish now, Thomas Maloney Vesgaard, number 1. As it stands, level with Beta Clay. How about that, the Irishman in the hot seat, the joint hot seat, along with Beta Clay. They're delighted to be there. Certainly surprises here. It's, what a results for him. For the two of them, really. Perhaps it may not last too long, but maybe soaking it in for now. They've put some pretty big names from big countries behind them. Hugo Lapalus of France. Very good freestyle skier, Lapalus. 7th at 6.1 kilometres. That's showing some good form. He's only a few seconds off the likes of Clairvaux and the likes of Amundsen. And 2nd in the 10 kilometre freestyle with Beitostølen just behind Ivar Tilheim Andersen of Norway. And it's pretty remarkable exhibition from him. And he's just absolutely overjoyed to be in that hot seat. What a remarkable story Thomas Maloney Vesgaard is. He has shown himself as one of the best winter sports athletes to ever represent Ireland, that's for sure. But there's a particularly large pool to draw from. Ivo Niskanen to the line. He's going to crush that time, I would imagine, set by the Irishman. Same time as Beta Clay, who also sits in joint first. Little slip from Niskanen. It's one of the first times we've seen him relent in what has been a thoroughly unrelenting performance. And I think this is going to be the winning one today, and by quite some margin. Ivo Niskanen within the final 100 metres now. And the crowd serenading him with shouts of Ivo. Take a bow, son. 38 seconds up on Maloney Vesgaard. That is massive. Back to the earlier segments though. Some changes are afoot, because Niemet is just 1.1 seconds down at that early stage. Eric Falnes, a very late starter, 1.8 seconds down. He was the foremost name when it came to this classic technique at distance in the pre-season races. So he is one to watch, so it's not over yet. Clairvaux is having an awful day there. And it has to be down to pre-season disruption, because it's so uncharacteristic from him. Usually be soaking this up and he'll be fighting for the win. Paul Goldberg keeping himself in with a outside shout. Still just feels a little unlikely, but a podium could be on for the distance World Cup winner of 2022-23. So Maloney Vesgaard and Beta Clay vacating the joint hot seat. Ivo Nishkinen takes over. Look at that, Emil Iversen down in 10th. And all the promise that he showed, that's gonna sting for an athlete who's been just struggling that little bit. William Poroma, young athlete going from strength to strength. Musgrave holding on quite firmly there, 17 seconds. Limiting his losses perfectly. And I think those latter Norwegians are going to be in with a sniff now. There's Niskanen not really making those big inroads in the later stages, but he did so emphatically at the start. Poroma behind Amundsen, 4th position. And that is something of considerable promise for the Swedes. We'll take a bit of solace in that and continue to try and develop this young athlete. Amundsen will be nowhere near Niskanen. Look at Musgrave's time at the end, comes into 13.5. And you could see Niskanen just flagging a little bit in that sprint finish, the double poling, the final 100 metres. And that is where he's going to be weak relative to the likes of Erik Valnes later on down the line. Amundsen 3rd, but behind Andrew Musgrave. It's a pretty big coming of age from the British athletes and the classic technique. Very, very impressive indeed from him. Martin Lundström, Nienet. It's going to go quicker, I think, than Niskanen. How about this? So Niskanen flattering to deceive at the start. And fading. We were talking about earlier, the pacing is going to be a bit of an issue. Well, Martin Lundström, Nienet proving that. 2 seconds up at 6.1. The live reaction from Niskanen. One of consternation, I think. He had it in his mind that he had it won at the end. I think we all did really before we saw those latter splits. Because he's, so convincingly dispatched of the likes of Amundsen and the likes of Klæbo. But those later Norwegian starters struggling. Klæbo behind Maloney Vestgaard, behind Bader Clay. Goodness gracious me. It was an absolute dud of a day for him. And again, a disruptive pre-season coming back to bite him perhaps. And there may be some speculation afoot as to whether he'll even race tomorrow in the 20-kilometre freestyle mass start. But it'll be up to him. You can see it as a way to get his form back, train hard and sort of shake off that illness that's been afflicting him. Diderik Tonseth, straight for him. And we behind Klæbo, but within the top 10 just about, between Hakkola and Huorvela in Finland. So still plenty to unfold here, but a late steal could be on the cards, courtesy of Nienet, and perhaps courtesy of Erik Valnes, who as far as we know has not crossed the 6.1 kilometre mark, but he was travelling quickly early on in the race. Paul Goldberg. Don't think it's quite going to be his day today. 8.6 off Ivo Niskanen. And he'll be working hard to bat off Andrew Musgrave. And finished very strongly indeed. Poroma into 4th position by 2.3 seconds over Maloney Vestgaard. Here we go, Valnes, yellow bib wearer. This is going to be so tight. It's going to be just level with Niskanen. Thereabouts. 4.4 seconds, so fading a little bit, but he'll have a quick finish, will Valnes. He's certainly cementing his position as the overall leader, I think, right now. And the consistency of his performances, first place, and looking good for a podium or higher here, in all likelihood. Kalle Halvarsson into the closing kilometre now. Haven't seen much of him on the course thus far. Solid performance by his teammate William Paloma. And he's going to be pretty much matching that from what I can tell. Niskanen already clear. Soon Musgrave will be too. Pain etched on his face right now. Rounding the final corner. Not got much left in the legs, has he? Struggling, labouring on. We've got Lapalus there into fourth. Shame we didn't get to see Lamp, but that's a great performance and classic technique from him. Ahead of Paloma, behind Paloma, just ahead of Thomas Maloney Vestgaard. 6th position. So the Swedes, 2 top Swedes, pretty much on a parallel there. Here's Nienet. This is going to be really close. 20 seconds in hand. I think he's got the edge today. I think Martin Rostrom Nienet has the edge ever so slightly over Ivo Niskanen. And this climb levels out, and he will be just about ahead. 1 second exactly. And I think Niskanen had a bit of a weak finish. What does Nienet have left? Losing some time relative to 6.1, but staying ever so steady. And Niskanen really got an anxious expression on his face. He knows he could be usurped here, but at the same time, he might not be, because it's so close out there. Being treated to another excellent race, it has to be said. Plenty of tension in this one. A close finish come to the line. Paul Goldberg won't be the winner today, but 2nd place, I think, is the most likely outcome. Behind Ivo Niskanen. Very professional and steady performance from the Norwegian. Put him just in front of Andrew Musgrave. 7.9 down on Niskanen. Never faltered, kept the same pace the whole way round, no inconsistencies. Good day at the office for Paul Goldberg. He's anxious, isn't he? Fidgeting with his possessions. And he's so unsure, shake of the head. I think he knows he could well be beaten here. But again, the uncertainty is there, isn't it? So much uncertainty. And that is why this format is so great. You just get to see a whole race unfold. See consistency rewarded the whole way around. Picking up Nienet early in proceedings now, with a long way to go to the finish. It's going to be so tight. 1:30 in hand right now, but plenty of distance to travel. There he comes, I think now. Round in the corner. Full-blooded attack into it. There was any hesitation there, any stumble. It could cost him the time that would get him the victory here today. 1 minute in hand now, up this climb. This looked so strong. This looked really strong from Martin Lövström-Ninjet. And going by visuals alone, it looks stronger than Niskanen was at the line. Valner's falling off. Quick starts, fading away. He won't be challenging for success. Simon Hegstad, Kruger now. Do we want to see Ninjet? Kruger just outside the top 5. 6th position for him. He's going to fall further though, because this man coming up behind him, Martin Lövström-Ninjet. This is going to be really close. 18 seconds as he rounds the final corner. I think he just has enough. 14, counting down into the line. 10 seconds to go. I think he's got the better of Ivo Niskanen here. A strong finish from Martin Lövström-Ninjet. And he does it. 2.9 seconds up on the Finn. The home crowd distraught, but sportingly, Niskanen straight over to him. Oh, well, it's not the reaction expected from Niskanen. He's absolutely furious with himself. Throws his own poles to the ground. He won't be taking the win here. He's been usurped by the Norwegian. I think he's more angry with himself than anything else, because you get the sense that he could have finished stronger. You get the sense that he thought that he had it won. And he took his foot off the gas ever so slightly. All of those sort of all that showmanship. He was crossing the line, punching the air, letting off when it came to speed. And because the likes of Klæbo and Amundsen were going so poorly, I think he just allowed himself to get a little bit complacent. And I think he could have found 3 seconds somewhere, and I think he knows that. But you do have to give it your all, because anyone can come along and steal the show, and that is what Ninjet has done here today. Surprise winner out of the Norwegian camp. Unless anyone comes down later down the line. Unless Erik Valnes finds 8 seconds from nowhere and he'll find a 1.9 kilometres. Fight for the podium will be interesting. Valnes against Golberg. This is what we're watching now. I think he's just losing time. Lower fist a little bit too much. It could be 4th place at the end of the day for the man in the yellow bib. He's going to hold on to the overall berth going into the 20 kilometre freestyle. Intriguing to see what he can do in the mass start setting. The mass start proves a lot more amenable to sprinters. In the interval start, it was a 20 kilometre interval start freestyle, you'd be counting him out, but he could hold on in that setting. Klæbo struggling so much, well, you never know. I think 4th place is the most likely here, perhaps. Already jumped by Ninjet. Niskanen, his time will surpass him. Keep an eye on him versus Paul Golberg. He's going to just take it, as a matter of fact, 1.1 second up. Strong finish all the way to the line, and Paul Golberg is knocked down to 4th, and another podium for Valnes, 1st and 3rd this weekend, and it'll be delightful for the yellow bib wearer. Straight over to congratulate him. Takes his tees off on behalf of him. Brilliant to see that from Niemet, who will be your winner today. Nobody quite saw that one coming, especially with the earlier proceedings and Niskanen. But I honestly think that Niskanen has thrown it away today. I really do think that. It's such a shame as well. There is your classification and probably the final top 10 as well. Niemet, Niskanen, Valnes, Golbert. Musgrave, brilliant in 5th. Maloney Vesgard 11th as well, what an outing for him. Pellegrino, very strong level with Clairbo. Gets himself 15th against the clock, which is a really good performance from him in the classic technique. Much prefers the skating style. Valnes dutifully congratulates the winner of the day. Some of the final names will be coming round to round things off. Lakari of Finland, just outside the top 30. Matteo Shelley of France dropped off from its earlier pace. Couldn't quite handle it the whole way around. Will be a day tinged with a little bit of disappointment for the Finns. Looks like they're on for victory with the first podium of the weekend for their squad. So perhaps not quite the Norwegian sweep we were expecting. A lot of athletes really struggling. Not sure if it's the conditions or the waxing or the level of form that they're pitching at the moment, but something a little bit afoot. Lari Vuorinen of Finland is going to put in another solid performance. '25th ahead of Karppanen. Still struggling with depth, Finland, when it comes to athletes beyond Iivo Niskanen. Could be a little frosty on the podium. We saw that outpouring of emotion from Iivo Niskanen. By no means directed at his opponents, but the frustration. A rare kind of thing to see. This is Xavier McKeever with Canada going along solidly. He's going to place himself firmly in the top half of the field, it seems. You can take some encouragement from that. Just behind Ricard Youth, yesterday's runner-up in the sprint. And all on the line there. Good performance from him. See some of these athletes get some airtime at the end of proceedings. Everyone can slip through the cracks when such a enthralling battle at the front, I suppose. Saw the Fabiani's name there in the 40s. That's not a great performance from him. You're hoping for much better later down the line this season. This man is really capable of producing an upset or performance in 1 or 2 races a season. He does not seem to have that consistency. Those of Austria into 62. Great race again. We've been treated to 2 really, really good races, and the sprints yesterday were very competitive as well. Trending a bit better than last season so far in that regard. I know it's early days, but it's good to see that improvement. Really hope we can get more competition and more national diversity going. I feel especially optimistic about the women's racing this season. I think will be very entertaining. But you get the sense that there's more to come from the Norwegian men, and they will be firing on all cylinders, especially at the Tour de Ski in December and January. I feel like they're biding their time for that. It's always a curious year, this sort of a second season after an Olympics, because you have no big championship day match. You know, in 2022 there are the Olympics, 2023 you have the Nordic World Championships, 2025 you have the Nordic World Championships. This is the curious in-between year where you can see some stranger things happening and some interesting upsets, and it's a year that for athletes it's sort of acceptable to be a little off colour and a little off pace. Tour de Ski proves to be the big focal point. Imagine 50-kilometre mass start later on in the season will be targeted by many as well, and that's always such a brilliant, entertaining affair. It's a shame we only get sort of 1 instance of it a season in that sort of long distance. It'd be nice to see that represented a bit more often. But it's a promising start to this season. Plenty of intrigue, and sets up an interesting scenario for the mass start in the freestyle tomorrow. Strellega crossing the line, but that could be anyone's game really. 20 kilometres for the men and the women in freestyle technique. Plenty to play for there and then. Hard to glean as well the effects of the fluoro ban so far. It's really hard to say there's any big discernible difference. The only thing is really the smallest nations are struggling that bit more than what we've seen so far. They're sort of rank outsiders, but I don't think the difference has been too massive. There's all sort of changes and fluctuations that aren't too great that have been facilitable under the old system, so it's really hard to tell thus far. I have to wait and see and read some of the media and the press in the aftermath of this weekend's action and see what the athletes themselves are saying about things. It's the only way you can tell, really. Anything else, it's bound to be speculation. And there's a lot of pessimism in biathlon, especially when it came to smaller nations' propensity to compete, given the pre-season events there. Action kicking off in Östersund this weekend in the Biathlon World Cup, actually. Fantastic to see the fan interactions there. So we await the final classification now. The final rundown. Still some athletes out on the tracks, however. Solitis of Latvia, one of them, is going to be last by a considerable margin, I'm afraid. Behind Kvahun of Ukraine.
Kisatorilla ja käydä tutustumassa muun muassa Sievin upeisiin jalkineisiin salkoolaiset. Sievin ekasta uutuuspallitsee esillä, joten ei muuta kuin sinne ja samalla voi siellä piipahtaa.
It's only a second World Cup victory of all time for Martin Lundström Jeniat, first of which came at the iconic Oslo 50km mass start in the Classic. So it's really a big transformation from him. Picked up 4 podiums last year, one of them in the freestyle mass start at Oslo. And then the rest coming in the Classic technique, 2 of them. In individual races.
Mutta niin miehissä kuin naissakin muuten alkaa aika tasaisesti tämä maailmankappakausi. Kukaan ei ollut niin sanotusti karvasti. Kyllä. Tietää hyvää tasaista alkukautta ainakin. Muistetaan kuitenkin. Rukataan tilanne on ehtinyt muuttua sitten jo Tour de Skilin. Tavallaan nämä voimasuhteet. Tästä on hyvä lähteä. Jos täällä on jäänyt minuutin, niin se ei tarkoita sitä, että ei voisi pärjätä kauden aikana. Varmasti esimerkiksi Klebo, joka oli tänään kuitenkin 42 sekkaa kärjellä.
Interesting to sort of see that adaptation to the shorter distances. It's the second season of the men's being reduced to 10 kilometers like this. So this is a classification. Jeniat, Niskanen, Valles, Goldberg, Musgrave, Munson, Lapalus, Truger, Paloma, Halvarsen, Thomas, Maloney, Vestgaard, Bader, Clay, Novak, Johannessus for Klæbo down in 14th. We've got Pellegrino, Anga, Hakola, Tonse, Furella, Vermeulen, Alvalinen and Schumacher. The United States. Then Johan Hagström, Emil Iversen all the way down in 24th. Vullanen, Kapanen, Sear, good 27th. Havala, Feinrich, Ahonen, Skelly, Kali and Kutschler. Highest placed German, I think. Ricard Juve, then Makiva, Antola Lapisto, Altamilas, Ogden, Levale, Lindholm, Glatz, Sandström and Hisselman. De Fabiani, Broder, Burgel, Simench, Fellner, Sosa, Young, Ventura, Patterson, Hema and Dapra. And we have Luke Jaeger, Baba, McMullen, Alev, Kralon, Lapierre, Moser, Fertinger, Kurdia, Drambois and Hagenbuch. Berry, Chapaz, Arnaud, Starega, Ketterson, Sella, Mikelian, Botsov, Dayanov. Next page, Bugala, Bolotka, Karpov, Belly, Fodstad, Bria, Trahun, Voskanyan, etc. Plenty of DNSs there from some of the smaller nations, and Shchenko not permitted to start for unspecified reasons. Final classification there. Happier face now from Ivo Niskanen. Gracious towards his opponents, but just frustrated with himself, I think. There's your podium. Very interesting one. That Martin Lundström Jenet's second victory in the World Cup of his career. First in an interval start. Second to his left, Ivo Niskanen. Cruelly denied in the end, and then in third, a greatly consistent performer in the form of Erik Valnes, and one more raucous cheer for Niskanen. Crowd quite delighted there. So your third place, Erik Valnes, started quick, just wavered in the latter half of the race, but had enough in the tank to just about deny Paul Goldberg of third place. Ivo Niskanen, absolutely immense start to proceedings, crushed the opposition in the first couple of segments, but by 6.1 Jenets had overcome him and just about held on for the win, despite a little bit of consternation at times. You could tell that Niskanen thought that he punched the air as he crossed the line, but this man had the perfect consistency, he paced it down to a T. He is your winner today by just a couple of seconds.